Hi everyone, it's Desiree. I am here with the Simon Says limited edition Halloween card kit for 2017. Know that this is not part of their subscription, so you do have to purchase this separately, and unfortunately, as of this editing, it is already sold out. So in the card kit came a box, and also these beautiful orange and black and craft cardstock from Tim Holtz. They're very vintage, which is pretty cool. So I took just some of them, cut little tiny pieces. They were about, 1.5 by 3 inches. And I'm using the cat die that came with the kit. I'm putting it into position around the window opening. And I'm using the spider from the stamp set and my VersaFine black onyx ink. And I'm just stamping him there off to the side. And these adorable, cute little candies that also came with the stamp set. And I'm going to glue this one cat down. So it's just the silhouette. But again, this is a box. So didn't want to get too crazy. You can see I cut many others. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a row of these cats going around the base of the box in the different textures and patterns that these papers come in. I'm then going to use, I like archival ink in potting soil, the Ranger, of course, to do distressing on some items, especially if I know they're going to be handled by somebody a lot, like this box would be, carrying it around and so forth, because archival inks, when they dry, are permanent. They won't bleed. Where you're distressing, the original vintage photo distressing, that could bleed if it gets wet and so forth. So it's just something that I tend to think about. You can see I was going to add some stamping of the cute little candies there. Couldn't think of that word. And of course we messed up on one. So again, we keep going as best as we can. So what I did was I'm just using the scraps left over from the cats that I cut out and using the craft side, and I'm just going to stamp the candies on that and cut them out. I also cut out the little tiny candy corns, and I figured I could use these to decorate, which is good. Again, this was a happy accident, only because it adds some dimension. Just another layer of the cards to be added to the box. Once we have that adhered, I'm going to pull out, I have the collection of the Spectrum Noir Sparkle Glitter Pens. These are awesome colors. They come in a complete an array of colors. I keep saying colors. But they also come in sets of 3, or you can buy sets of 12. And I believe there are 3 to 4 sets of 12. But the colors that these come in are just absolutely beautiful, and the sparkle is amazing. Now, since I was on craft, I kind of used a deep coral, which kind of turned into orange once it touched the craft paper. So that's why you always test it on that scratch piece off to the side. I'm using a green, I'm using a purple, I'm using a yellow, which can also be used as a beautiful gold. And then, of course, the clear, and of course, it was dying on me. So you just squeeze it a little bit to activate it, just like with any of the aqua pens or Wink of Stella's. Excuse me, I'm fighting a cold. Very rude. So now I'm just adding the clear throughout. Adding a little bit to the eyes of this cute, adorable spider coming down. And the box is very simple to assemble, too. You literally just push on those 2 corners, and it just pops up in place. Just adding some final touches. And that's the card 1, or box 1, project from this kit. I thought it was really cute. I believe my sister will snag this up. For card number 2, this kit came with a lot of stickers. And you know what? When I use stickers, I use them in my planner or my bullet journal. So this is what I did when it came to these. I got very used to it very quickly. So I used my favorite things, wonky rectangle, excuse me, stitch die for my base. And that base measures 4 by 5 1/4 if you should not have that die or you just want to cut it out. You can see from the sticker sheets, I pulled all of the candy stickers from the Iridescent sticker sheets, the 2 large ones, and I put them on black cardstock. I'm pulling from my stash a cardstock, a glitter paper cardstock that I purchased at AC Moore's. It's by DCW, and I'm sure I just said that correct or incorrectly. And as I was going through the colors, I chose the orange. It was kind of either between that one or the green. It was kind of like in either one. And I'm taking the Halloween holographic sticker, and I'm sticking that down onto the glitter. I added glue, but I also wanted to add some weight because I've found that when you put the stickers on this, they really don't adhere too well. So you got to add just a little bit of weight. You can see I cut out around the candy so that I could have a black border from the cardstock. And I'm going to grab a oval die from my stash so that I can cut out the Happy Halloween. I'm going to put that on black cardstock and let that set. We're going to use, we used foam strips to prop that up onto the black card base. And then we're going to trim around that just so that it has just a touch of the black border, just like the candies did. So I'm grabbing the base that I cut out, and I'm just going to arrange the sentiment, because I'm going to use that as my sentiment, which is great. There's plenty of stickers to do that. And I'm just going to arrange these candies around, and I'm going to use my glue dots when it comes to the adhering of the candies. And then I'm going to use my art glitter glue to attach that panel. I'm going to use a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 top folding card base. And I'm going to use my glue to adhere this down. I know if any of you watch Amy R, she says less is more, and she is correct. Art glitter glue does have a strong water base to it. So if you use a lot of it, it could possibly warp your paper. You do not need much of that glue. So just put a little bit around the edges and the center. I pulled from my stash, I have bags of sequins. I have no idea why I had them. Maybe from when I cross stitch, not quite sure. But I pulled out my lime green, my purple, and my orange, and I just adhered them all over the card just to give it some more shine. And that is card number 2. So for card number 3, we're still working with the stickers. This was, I found, very intriguing when it came to the stickers to create. So for this one, I'm grabbing one of those sentiments, and I'm just trimming around it because, you know, sometimes when they're cut like that, they're offset. So you can get some of the other colors. I'm placing this on one of the green glitter pages from the card stack that I grabbed from my stash. And again, it's DCWV, and it's a matte stack when it comes to that. It comes with 42 sheets. So I placed that on there, set that aside. I'm using my Lawn Fawn large rectangle stitch square, and I also grabbed one from my Spellbinders. I love Spellbinders dies, especially their frame dies. I think it's a mission for me to collect them all. But this one was kind of neat because it had like a jagged edge. It looks like it was torn. And you guys know me, I love to tear paper. So I used that to cut out a center panel. I'm going to pop this up with some foam tape and put that down onto the black card base that I use. And correction, I used my favorite things wonky stitch die for both the purple and the black. So I'm grabbing the large house from the Mind's Eye sticker collection and just placing that down onto my base. And one thing you have to remember, you're going to see this card change. The one thing that I like to show y'all is Not just the fact that this is how you can make a card. Here's some inspiration, you know, please use this design, you know, if you really like it and so forth. But to also show you the process. It's a process to come up with a card. So I try not to show everything because it'll probably all drive you all crazy. But to show, you know, right now that ghost is sitting up high. You can see the sentiment did fall off the green glitter piece of paper. So, okay, had to reglue that because I did. There you go. See, now I'm putting down that little tiny acrylic block to get that. I've pulled the spider. But I want you to see that you can change. Mistakes are not mistakes. They're accidents. It's always a thought process. Nothing is ever perfect. And trust me, it took forever for me to get used to that. And it wasn't until I was comfortable with that idea that I started this YouTube channel. I mean, I watch everybody. I watch all the experts, what I call the experts, and the true people that give me inspiration. But again, they started out the same way. So nothing is a mistake. It's an accident. So again, now you can see I've pulled in a sticker from the original pack with the moon. I'm pulling that ghost off. If they do pull off nicely, just don't push down too hard. Just lightly tap them down. And then and once you're ready, see, there's my thumbs up. Once you're ready, just push everything down on that. So you can see it can evolve. So I try to show as much as I can. I'm going to take this panel. I'm going to prop this up on a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Technically a top folding. This time it's going to be a side folding. Changed my mind because now we're using the orange. Because the orange and purple, they complement each other. I really like the look of it. You all know me. I love going to Michael's and AC Moore's. I kind of have stock in these stores. And one of the bins that I found is the Studio G bins. And they had this black glitter, sparkle glitter in one of the bins. Figured I'd pick it up and try it. Guys, it's not bad. It was $1. You can see I put some black glitter on the back of the spider nubs. For card number 4, guys, heads up, this one's going to be lengthy because I want to show you the process to create this background. This background was inspired by Vicky. I am not going to pronounce her last name. I will put the link to her video where she showed this background, not if y'all haven't seen it already, down below in the description, and also a link to her YouTube channel. She is very inspiring for me. She is definitely one of the top 3. So I gave this a try. So again, her idea, she did this. She just inspired me to give this a shot. Before I started the background though, I wanted to use the Wow Glow in the Dark embossing powder. Guys, I have to admit, I did not have luck with this, and you'll see how I corrected it. But I used my Versamark ink. I put it down, heat set it, and had them set into place onto the card base first. I'm then using some masking paper from Inkadinkadoo. I love saying that. Putting that in place. And now we're going to start with the blending. So the first color that we use is Broken China. Now, if you want to skip this, if you only want to watch part of it, you can see I put a number down below, 1635. If you want to fast forward to that mark, that'll be for the rest of the card. But you can see there's going to be about 2 or 3 minutes of this. So we want to put a layer down of the Broken China. We're now going to come in with Faded Jeans, and you want to come in around the edge. Guys, this takes a lot of time. There's a lot of layering. There's a lot of going back and forth. I now see why people have multiple blending tools. I mean, I only have, well, I thought I had 4. I can't find one. So I only have 3. I get it. When it's very handy, especially with the oxides. And I chose the oxides because they spread like butter. It is awesome. I am absolutely loving the Distress Oxides for backgrounds because I could never get a background to look like this with the Distress inks. It's just something I can't do. I'm going to continue to try. I never give up, but we got to try. The next color I'm pulling in here is Seedless Preserves, and it's going to look like a hot mess. Tears were coming to my eyes, but it's okay. We just keep going back and forth. The paper that I'm using, I'm actually trying this for the first time in this video. I went to my local Michael's, and they have Artist Loft brand. Well, they came out with a Bristol. Now, I have the Canson XL Bristol vellum paper, which I absolutely love, highly recommend. But the Artist Loft was like, I got 2 packs for $5. So I wanted to give it a try. And you know what? It's working phenomenally. So if you do have a Michael's near you, check out those other products. Now it's looking like a worse hot mess because now we're adding black soot. But you can see if we keep going over, you know, once I had the Seedless Preserves down horribly, I went back with the faded jeans, went back with the broken china, and you just keep building. You have to keep going back and forth. You notice I'm not really pulling in the Seedless Preserves again. I personally wanted just a touch of that purple. It adds a little bit of depth to it when it comes to the blues. That's the panel. I was very happy with myself. Usually I do watercolor. So of course I'm going to spritz it so that we can create our spots or splotches like I like to call them. You don't have to do that. I'm going to also remove the masking paper, and it is beautiful. It is a moment, really, because look, it does look like it's actually glowing. It's amazing. I encourage you, give this a try if you haven't already. It's fun, but stick with it. Don't give up, because there's a lot of times I did want to give up and say, okay, I got to go another way. So what I also did was with the stars, I just used a dry cloth just to clean them off so that the glow would come through and activate. I'm using the black soot, put a little bit on an acrylic block, added water, and I'm just adding some marks and then blending it out with water. Because when we look at a moon, it's never, you know, solid white. We can always see little tiny shadows and stuff. I think Vicky, she used yellow. I just wanted to go with the gray. I used this time I did use the Lawn Fawn large stitch rectangle die. And now I'm pulling out my Lawn Fawn grass dies. And I'm going to cut 3 of those. Now it's okay that I've got the marks on the bottom because you won't see those. I'm pulling out my Distress ink, Mowed Lawn, and I'm just going to add ink to the tops and the edges and throughout on these blades of grass, just to give it some dimension, some shading on all 3 of those pieces. And now we're going to position them. So we're going to glue down with foam tape and the glue. And you can see we're creating a hillside. So I have an idea of where the bottom is, and I'm just layering everything on top. I'm going to use my art glitter glue to put down the bottom layer, just making sure that I've come down far enough for the bottom edge, and I'm trimming off the edges. So far there is our night scene. And I'm going to use the pumpkin stamp for this card. So I'm kind of making like a pumpkin patch. So I stamped it out 3 times. And for the coloring, I'm going to use my Crayola fine liners. I cannot recommend these enough. Yes, I have the Zig clean color real brush markers, and I'll be using them on another card. But these are great. If you're on a budget, I really do suggest you get these. You can get these at your local office supply store. They come in sets of 12 and 40. I think I got mine at an office supply, a set of 40 for, oh my goodness, I'm going to say about $10, $10 to $15 it was on sale. But look how beautiful they blend. They truly do blend. And you know what? You only need the basic set, which is the basic 12. These colors that I used came within that set. I'm then using the brown for the tops. I've used the orange, of course, for the pumpkins. You can see I've got great shading. So I'm shading out using my aqua brush, the colors onto the pumpkin. And now I'm just going to use the black in that double area where, you know, it's the thickness of the pumpkin. I'm just putting it in there to get another shade. I didn't want these stark black. I wanted to give it a kind of a look that there was like a candle in them or glowing just a little bit. So it did provide for a lot of shading by just filling in those sections and pulling it down with my aqua brush. I'm also going to cut these out, leaving just a small white border around them. And then we're going to position them up onto our card. Some have foam tape, some do not, just to give it the difference in the heights. For the sentiment, I chose, of course, You're My Favorite Pumpkin, using my Versamark ink, using my black cardstock, getting better remembering my anti-static tool. I'm going to use one of the Lawn Fawn banner dies, only because it helps to get a straight cut. I may not use the banners, I may always chop them off, but it's a quick way just to get a quick cut. Put that onto my card using a 4 1/4, 5 1/2 top folding white. This will cover the whole top of the folding card, but we set that in place. And I was playing around with this card using the Nuvo Banana Glow in the Dark enamel, and it is absolutely phenomenal. But I was playing with the card in the dark, and the stars weren't glowing. And you should have seen me. I locked myself up in a closet. It was amazing. So what I'm doing is I put a dot of the banana enamel dot in the center of each of the stars that I had embossed on. Grab a pin, and at each corner, just drag the enamel out. Makes a star. And that's how I got, excuse me, the glue dot, or the glue dot, wow, too early, the enamel to make the star shape. I apologize. It was really tough to photograph this in the dark because, you know, trying to be in a closet and everything else. So I just turned down my lights, but I still have a lot of sunlight coming in. You can see all of the gloriness there. So for the final card, card 5 for this video, this is very different. I'm using those vintage orange and black Tim Holtz cardstock. And I've cut one of the cats again, just a silhouette, just wanted it black. And I'm taking these strips and I'm going to make banners. And I'm going to fishtail each of the ends of them. Now I noticed with this one, it wasn't quite straight. Not a problem. I'm going to grab my Tonic Studios Tim Holtz trimmer. I love this trimmer. It is a wonderful, wonderful trimmer. I do also have the trimmer with the metal guide in it, but I find I go through so many blades with that. I like the one with the rotary blades, the round disc blades, and that's just too huge to put on my table. But you can see I'm cutting these down into different sizes, 1 inch, 1 1/4 inch, 3/4 inches. Those are the size that I chose for this banner. So now I'm fishtailing each of them, and I'm going to set them in place. And to hold them, I'm going to use a small stapler just to hold them in place off to the side once I had them set. I'm using my Favorite Things Wonky Stitch Rectangle die, and I'm going to use my archival ink again in potting soil to distress the edges of the panel. I'm setting this in place, my fishtails, and I'm poking a hole through them. And then we're going to trim off the edges and secure them in place. Some have foam tape. One has foam tape, and then the others are just glued on. And yes, I grabbed one of the Tim Holtz findings. So it looks like a door knocker, but it's a brad. So that's what the hole's there for. I'm going to poke this through, and it has a jump ring on the end of it. So it's the brad prongs that come through that actually hold the jump ring in place. So I'm going to set that, and we'll be playing with that in a moment. But you can see, I could just leave it like that. It kind of looks pretty cool. I took the black cat, propped it up on some foam tape, and we're going to set that in place. I chose the sentiment, it's Meowloween. That's so cute. What a cute pun. I'm using my White Recollections embossing powder, and we're going to prop that up, leaving the fishtail end on it. And I also put a staple at the end of that too. Somehow I lost that footage. Huge technical difficulties. That's why it has taken me so long. I am so sorry. So we're going to prop that on the 4 1/4, 5.5 inch white card base. And I'm going to grab a clip. These clips I use when I sew. Yes, I am a quilter too. So comes in handy, just to make sure that they get glued down around. I am grabbing the Tim Holtz threads, strings that were in the kit, just grabbing a few. And what I did was I took one of the edges of the extra thread, pushed it through, put it through the loop after my strings that I cut were folded in half, so that I could get it through the ring. You had to be careful because it's a jump ring and it will come apart, because it did. Had to do a couple takes on this. Totally shredded apart a couple jump rings. But once I got the loop through it, I pulled individually each of the strings to tie them down. I grabbed my Ranger black enamel, and I'm just putting some dots around, and I'm grabbing my Nouveau orange. These, that's not the jewel, they are the gloss. Using my Spectrum Noir clear glitter sparkle pen. That is a handful to say. And that is our final card for this video. I'm going to show you each card individual. As I say, it's the showcase. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up. There will be many more videos this week, so please stay tuned. I encourage you, hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all of the projects that are coming out in videos. There will be some surprises very soon. By all means, check out my Facebook page and my blog and subscribe to them as well, as there's more projects that sit there. Again, I can't thank you enough. And remember, guys, always be creative.